So guys, today back for a video on the channel. Today we're here for the Newcastle United vs Brighton preview, and it is the final preview of the season at St James's Park. A final home game of the season comes on Saturday. It's a shame, but the season's went so fast when you think about it. Honestly, that Aston Villa 5-1 game feels like last week. Now we've got our final game of the season at St James's Park. But in the video today we'll look at Brighton, look at Newcastle. It's going to be a massive game for both teams. Newcastle United have got to end the season off well to get Europe. Brighton have got to do something to keep De Zerbi as their manager and players for next season. They need to end on a high. It's a massive one at St James's Park. Make sure you leave a like, boys, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let's get them now and let's start off by looking at Brighton. So then, starting off the video by speaking about Brighton, they've had a funny old season. They were fighting for Europe, above Newcastle at some point in the season, struggled as of late. At the minute, Brighton are sitting 11th in the Premier League table with 47 points. They do have a game in hand on Bournemouth from West Ham, so they could creep up to 9th. They need to build up their season because they've been on a struggle at the minute. So as we all know, Brighton had an unbelievable season last season, getting European football for the first time in the club's history. And since they got knocked out against Roma, they're really bad away from home. They beat them at the Amex 1-0, but obviously it wasn't enough over the two legs. Looking at their last couple of games, obviously they have played a lot of big teams and still have to, but they've struggled in some games, and I feel like they should have done a lot better. Got beat 2-1 at Liverpool, which was a massive game. Got beat to a Salah late goal. 0-0 against Brentford, should be winning that game. They got slapped over Arsenal 3-0. Drew 1-1 against Burnley, had their goal gifted to them. If they didn't get that goal gifted to them, they would have got beat, obviously. Smashed by Man City 4-0, got beat at Bournemouth 3-0, and then luckily beat Aston Villa late on Sunday. It was a big result for them, massive, considering they've not run in that run of games. But with Newcastle, Chelsea and Man United, the three teams fighting for 6th, even 5th for Newcastle, they've got a tough end of the season. And I feel like, obviously, we all know injuries have been a massive hit this season. Obviously they do have a lot of big players out. You've got players like Lallana, Ferguson's been out for a long time, James Milner's been out, Matoma's out, Estepinian's out, Solly March is out, Lamptey's out. They've got so many players out where going to that team. Ferguson was one where he had an unbelievable start of the season, scored a hat-trick against us, as you can see from the photos on screen. He scored a hat-trick against us, and it was an unbelievable hat-trick. He was so good in that game, and Brighton was so good on that day. But the injuries that have hit them has been really bad. Players like Anthony Fati is still not been getting a game, but they've got a squad going, Brighton. But looking at their start 11 for what beat Aston Villa, obviously injuries have hit, but Newcastle should beat that team. They really should. Looking at that start 11, we should win. We really should. But Brighton have always been that team to do something against Newcastle. I think it was for years on end Newcastle struggled to beat Brighton when they got promoted in the Premier League at the same time with us back in 2017. I think the first time we beat them was 2022. I think every other time we got beat or drew against them 0-0 or 1-1 or whatever that may be. But we've struggled against them. Obviously last season we beat them 4-1. It was our second last home game of the season last season, around the same time. It was around the birthday for me, but Newcastle United have got a massive test on their hands, but Brighton have a side that can turn up on the day, and that's the scary thing. They aren't sitting 11th for no reason. Yes, they are in some funny form, but still sitting 11th, got more points on Wolves, who have Clayton had a good season. Same with Fulham. Palace have had a really good season towards the end and still doing better than them. Obviously, De Zerbi's been linked away with a job. People are linked with the Liverpool job, then the Bayern Munich job. It's a bit of a chaotic one, but he's came out and probably said they want to stay at the club. When you look at Brighton's league this season, they've lost less games than Newcastle and Man United, so they couldn't have that bad of a season, but 11 draws to Newcastle's 5 and Man United's 6 is the difference why we're up there fighting for you towards the end of the season. Then, well, Brighton are, like what I've stated in videos before, Brighton aren't going to get European football again, not because they've had this funny form towards the end of the season. Yes, it does affect it, but it's the course of the whole season. They had to pick up wins during the season. They didn't pick up wins during the season, and that's what's going to cost them. But I feel like Brighton, and the injuries that they've got, they're in a good place. They're in a good system with De Zerbi, and if they can keep him, keep the players like Matuma, keep players who are going to develop the squad, they should be fine for next season. But going to this game for Newcastle, they can either turn up and play absolutely unreal, or they could have that shot win against Villa and struggle yet again, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. But let's speak about Newcastle. So as you can see from the channel, boys, there was no Burnley videos. I did release a video yesterday explaining pretty much everything that's happened during the week for Newcastle. Obviously I was at a festival, didn't see the game, obviously I've seen the highlights now, but 6th in the league. Very good. Very, very good. Newcastle could be touching for 5th, which is absolutely mad considering Tottenham have got Man City still to play. Yes, they still have Sheffield United and Burnley, which both teams could arguably be relegated. Obviously Sheffield United are down, but Burnley are pretty much down now. Going to have a miracle from Nottingham Forest to lose, and then they've got to win their 2 next games. But the Premier League is seeing other things, but Newcastle have been in a really good spot at the minute. Obviously that Man United game's what's going to be to test and everything now, because obviously they're 8th, we're 6th, whoever wins will probably get top 7 from where the season's going with how good Chelsea are being. Newcastle have got to win their football games, and we absolutely did on Saturday against Burnley. We thrashed them. Should have been 5-0 up if Isak scored his penalty, but we are looking really good at the minute. It's all about consistency, and since the international break, coming back from the one in March, Newcastle have only lost once, and you see it like that, and you think about the couple of draws that we had in there and should have won games, but definitely not bad. It could be way worse. We drew against Everton, got beat at Palace, but then you've won your games against West Ham, Spurs, there'll be other teams around there, but we've been picking up them wins. That's the most important thing. 17 wins, only 5 draws. There's the 13 losses that have got us to where we are this season, but going into the game versus Brighton, as I mentioned before, Newcastle always struggled against Brighton over the years when we came up with the Premier League with them. But obviously last season, that 4-1, honestly that was one of my favourite games ever. That 4-1 win to pretty much guarantee Champions League football, but hopefully we can do the same again. It'll be the same sort of vibe, atmosphere. Obviously we're still fighting for Europe, and if we get that win we're going to be so close to it, and if we beat Man United it could be all seal and done. But it's Newcastle United we're speaking about. It's Newcastle United, anything can happen. But with the injury news and stuff like that, obviously the lads have trained today when I'm recording this on Wednesday, back out on the grass ready for Saturday. I don't want to give too much of the predicted team away, so that's why I don't want to give too much away, because obviously it's pointless doing the video. Going to the game with Newcastle, it will be a tough one. Obviously Brighton are a tough team, but with the last home game of the season, our home form's still been quite good this season. Yes, we picked up a couple of draws against Everton, Bournemouth, Luton at home. Newcastle United should be doing it. We should be winning this game, but we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, as you all know, lads, that'll be the last match day vlog of the channel this season. Obviously, I'm not at Man United because it's during the week, and then Brentford sold out very late on. Obviously, I do still try and get away tickets, but hopefully more to come next season. Final one of the season at St James's on Saturday. Hopefully the sun's going to be belting out for the tune. If I've got to give a prediction, it's a tough one to ask, it's a tough one to think, but I think Newcastle United will just have enough to do it. I'm going to go 3-1. 3-1 in Newcastle. We will concede, but that is going to be the end of the video, boys. Make sure to leave a like, boys. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It would be lovely if you could do so. Massive game on Saturday. Final match day vlog of the season. I'll see you all for the predicted team tomorrow and the match day vlog on Saturday. Hopefully the lads can pick up an all-important 3 points. Howie the lad.